Thank you all for being here today. We're so excited to be interviewing a good friend and colleague of mine, Sarah Ward. She is a speech pathologist as well as I am, and we met many years ago when she was presenting, and I followed her work, and she comes out to the Bay Area quite a bit to present to us locally. And we've become very close. She has a practice in Concord, Massachusetts that she co-directs with Kristen Jacobson. And she and Kristen are experts in executive functioning. And we just wanted to interview you today to share one of your gems of practical strategies with our audience.
Great. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's really great to have you. I know that you and I have chatted before on my YouTube channel, and I would love for you, one of your greatest gifts, Sarah, is to explain executive functioning in parent and educator friendly language. It's a very heavy term, executive functioning. And can you kind of just break it down, like what does that mean? And then after that, I would love to hear, I'm going to cue you up to do one of my favorite strategies that you teach. It's really practical stuff. But can you start us off with what's executive functioning?
Sure, you bet. And I have one of my favorite props. So I brought my mental health book. There you go. So executive function is really the ability to be what we call a mind mime. And I love that phrase mime because if you ask a student what a mime is, all students do the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, it's the guy that pulls the rope, and they'll act it out, right? Or they'll climb the wall, or they'll open the door. And we see, right, they're acting out that task even though the objects themselves aren't with them. And so executive function is where we're often pre-imagining in that mental thought bubble of ours what it is that we're going to look like in the future, and then we carry that out. So for example, if you're standing in the shower and you're washing your hair, you begin to imagine, well, what do I have going on today? And you might say, oh gosh, I've got that interview. And then you think, if I want to look appropriate for the interview, I should wear the blue or the black dress. And you might think, yeah, that would be really great. And even with the black dress, I could wear the scarf. And you're running that movie through your head so that the minute you get out of the shower, you go right to your closet and you look at the black and the blue dress. And if the black dress needs to be ironed and you don't have time, maybe you'll grab the blue dress. Now, I know that's a long-winded answer, but that's important because we often pre-imagine our plan in one space so that the minute we get to that space, we are what we call a beat ahead, and we just carry out that plan. So the thing about it is, it really is, executive function is this ability to run a mental movie of what are you going to look like, how are you going to move to achieve that goal, and what are the objects that you need. And what we find is a lot of times parents say, go upstairs and get ready for soccer, go upstairs and get ready for soccer, and maybe the child finally goes upstairs, and then you walk upstairs and you go and you pass the child's room and they're on the floor playing with Legos, or they're sitting on their bed painting their nails, and you think, oh my gosh, which part of out the door didn't you get? Why are you not doing that? But it's fascinating when you talk to kids, and I have as a parent, when I said it's time for scouts or whatever it is, I imagined you walking upstairs, going into your bedroom to the third drawer down, grabbing your Scouts uniform, over to your desk area where there's their Scout badge book, and then coming downstairs. But when I say go upstairs and get ready for Scouts, the child is just hearing go get ready for Scouts. They're not really creating that image. And it is quite shocking how many times I'll ask kids, I'll say, do you picture yourself moving through the house to do what your mom asked you to do? Or when you know that you have your poetry due in English, do you actually see yourself walking into the English classroom and putting it into the homework bin? And there are a lot of kids will be like, no. It's just like, no, they don't. And so we have to kind of unlock that and teach that to them. So simplistic definition of all is, yes, executive function is about goal setting, but it's not about the goal. It's about envisioning yourself moving from point A to point B to carry out the steps and the actions to actually achieve that future image of yourself.
That mental image that you always talk about, that future sketch. It's so important. And one of our favorite strategies is that we teach to our kids, and we use at home, and we teach to teachers when we are in school settings, is the awesome, simple, practical strategy that you call match the picture. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So oftentimes we think about the fact that, gee, if the child's having trouble with executive function skills, give them a checklist. Or if the child's having trouble with, managing the sequence of something, give them a little pictorial sequence, like where it says, like step number 1, add shampoo. Step number 2, wash your hair. I don't know, whatever it is. And we see that. And even in the older grades, we see a lot of times it's like, all right, well, here's your checklist. Don't forget to do these things when you get to school. The problem is that checklists actually come from mental imagination, and checklists reflect tasks that you can't hold in your working memory. So I like to give a little bit of a long-winded answer here to kind of picture this. If you were going to go to the grocery store and all you were going to buy was a rotisserie chicken and a salad, you wouldn't need to make a list, because you can envision yourself going to walk in, get the chicken, get the salad, and leave. So the idea is that if you had 25 things, you might then need to put them on a list, because you can't hold it in that working memory to see that. So the thing is that executive function is about envisioning yourself in a future kind of what we call episode or future moment in time. And it's a mental picture of where you are, what you look like, and the objects that you have. So instead of giving kids a checklist, and instead of giving kids a picture list where you have the word with a little clip art picture next to it, we instead recommend that you take an actual photograph of the child fully dressed and ready for Scouts. Take a picture of the child fully dressed and ready for dance. If you have an older student, fully dressed and ready to take off out the door to school, so that they've got their technology, their backpack in hand, etc. And then we ask that student to look at that photograph and say, okay, if I were going to be out the door this morning, if I were going to Scouts, show and tell me your plan to match that picture. Because we want students to be able to say, oh, okay, well, if I'm ready for Scouts, I can see that I have my uniform. I can see that I've got my badges. I can see that I've got my badge book in my hand. And because it's contextual when you have a photograph, that actually makes them envision how they're going to have to move through space to achieve that goal. Well, that means I'm going to have to go upstairs to get the badge book. That means I'm going to have to go into the closet to get the uniform. If it were preparing for soccer, that means I'm going to have to go out to the garage to get the sports bag, whatever it might be. So what a photograph does is it gives you context, and it gives you the gestalt of a future episode of what you're going to look like. Sequential picture checklists don't do that. Just word checklists don't have the child convert it to that gestalt imagery. And even more powerful is, and some people don't believe this and they're surprised by it, a single photograph actually produces flexible thinking. Because what all of you do is you picture yourself dressed, like blurry dressed image, and then you change that outfit in your mind's eye depending upon context. If you're going to an interview, you see a power suit. If you're going to the beach, you see your swimsuit and cover-up. If you're going to your kid's soccer game and it's freezing cold, you see yourself with really warm clothing on. It's what we call the same but different, and that's our favorite executive function cognitive flexibility word. How will you look the same but different? So if today the Scout meeting is actually doing community service, then you're going to look the same but different. These are the things that you're going to need today in addition to the usual uniform. So what we find is that a photograph where students need to match the picture gives them context. It gives them the gestalt of what they'll look like. It helps them learn to envision how they're going to move through a space or a time to match that picture. And it helps them take that photograph and adapt it flexibly in their mind to say, and how would that change if it were cold out today? Or how would that change if it were hot out today? Or how would that change if we're going to Scouts and then we're going out to pizza afterwards? So it really develops that executive forethought, planning, and cognitive flexibility.
Yeah, that's a lot of EF all in one strategy, and I love it. And the other thing that, as you know, a parent or as an educator or a teacher might also enjoy about this strategy is sometimes we find that kids, when you start to run the running list of what needs to be done in order to be ready for school or to get your backpack ready, kids can tune that out. Whereas there's very little verbal involved with, oh, what's your plan to match this picture? And then it gets the executive functioning going in the student instead of, oh my gosh, here she goes again, telling me all the steps, right? Not only is it hard for their working memory, but it also it denies them the opportunity to think about, what do I need to do to get to match the picture?
Absolutely.
And what we've done at my house is we've done a little bit of role play. So we've gotten dressed up in these different things, and, or, you know, when the room is completely made, we'll take a picture, or when they've gotten dressed up to go to certain places, I'll just snap a picture, and then you just have it ready. You can either print them out to show them in those occasions or have it ready. My husband actually has, one of his pet peeves is all of the dish pans and pots being all not sorted. And so he took a picture of how he wants it to be, all the tops in one places and all the bigger pots, and inside the drawer there's a match the picture right there. So it works for the entire family, and so grateful for your creation of these practical tools and for your time in sharing them with us. Again, Sarah Ward presents all over the world. She will be coming here locally on occasion, and we have one coming up, if this is time-stamped before then, May 2nd here in the Bay Area. So check out her website and our website, and we look forward to seeing you in person. And also Sarah's website is efpractice.com with lots of resources and materials to purchase for everyday use.
Sounds great. Thank you so much again.
Sarah,
Lots of fun. We'll see you soon.
Okay.